Hey, what's going on, folks? So we are in my office, and it is kind of early in the morning, and I don't like the lights early in the morning, so I'm not putting any lights. It is what it is, just like your president says. So I get all these comments and questions on the videos, asking me for any supplier from Alibaba or any stores that you can get parts for electric bikes and systems and so on and so forth. And I get a few people saying like, well, can I do a 60 volt, 1,000 watt motor? So honestly, if you putting 60 volts on a 1,000 watt motor, and if you're heavy, you are going to pretty much overheat the motor. And I guarantee you, when you go up the hill and you're also a heavier dude, at about 180 pounds, 200 pounds, that motor is going to overheat. And 60 volt for a 1,000 watt bike or motor is way too strong, and that motor is going to definitely overwork itself every time it's running. Um, there's no such a thing as half a throttle, or little bit of throttle. Once you feel the speed for need, you're gonna go forward, and you're gonna go faster, and you're gonna go want to even faster. Um, so saying that, I also had another question saying, so the guy's putting a fat bike, a 20-inch wheel fat bike, and he's putting a 48 volt battery on a 3,000 watt hub motor. So this is the exact opposite of what you really shouldn't do. Because honestly, why are you paying or buying a 3,000 watt motor where you're only pushing at 48 volts? So in reality, 48 volts fully charges 52. That's pretty much the top charge at the end. The minute you do first 2 miles, that thing is going to go down to 48 volts. So you have potential of 3,000 watts, but you're pushing this with 48 volts, and you're not even doing 30 amps, because in reality, any 48 volt controller would give you maximum maybe 20 amps at top. So you're probably running at 15. So you're not even pushing 30 amps into that motor. You're pushing maybe 800 watts. That's if you're lucky. You're peaked out at 1400. Uh, and this is 500 watts, so you'll peak out at maybe 800, 900. It's a fat tire, so the resistance is there because it's a fat tire. As we know, the physics, the narrower the tire, the faster it goes, and the bigger the tire, the longer it turns, and the smaller the tire, faster it turns. So you'll have a nice torque with the 20-inch tire versus 26, 27 and a half, and 29, but you are underpowered tremendously. You have to try to match the system to what your needs are. If you're looking at a 3,000 watt system, you should pretty much go with 1,500 watt motor at 17 amp hour on the battery, and you have great results of top speed of 34, 36 miles an hour. The lighter you are, the faster you're gonna go. So average Joe Schmo is gonna go about 34 miles an hour, no questions asked. I written 1,500 watts at 260 pounds, and I literally went 34 miles an hour. There was no sweat for the motor. So I would not put a 500 watt system on a 48 volt battery, or I would not put a 3,000 watt system on 48 battery. So again, this young man turns around and asks, well, can I do 60 watts, 60 volt on a 500 watt battery? Now that's too much. You definitely will have a mismatch with your controller. Um, you would have to get a different controller for the 60 volt, because the controller is for 48 volt system and 500. All right, so 500 system usually gets a 36 48 volt controller. that means that if you put 60, it's going to be in between, or it could be only possibly a controller only designed for 60 volts, or it could be one that has 48, 60, 72. So if you want to do that, you want to experiment, get a control that has three different power currency, and it will do 48 volts, 60 volts, and 72 volts, or just 48 and 60. Now you would have to build or buy two different batteries, which is going to cost money, unless you put it yourself. Still going to cost money. Okay, you can do the system at 48 volts, at 52 volts, and at 60 without changing the controller. So would I recommend 500 with 60 volts? No. Would I recommend 1000 with 60 volts? Yes. Would I recommend 3000 with 60 volts? Yes, that's the minimum. Okay. Would I recommend 500 with 60 volts? No, I would not. So hopefully, guys, that answers your question. And like I said, these are awkward systems. You want to go with the most popular and famous system. Not that because it's popular, it's just been tested and it's been running without any hiccups and issues. That will be your 48 volt 1000 watts, or 48 volt, okay, 48,000 watts at about minimum 13 amp hour in a battery. 48 1500 watts, either at 52 volt battery, or 48 volt battery with either, for the 48 volt and 1000, I would minimum suggest 13 amp hours, 13 and a half, 14. The higher the better. But this person is concerned about how big the battery is. And for a 1500 watt battery, the minimum I would recommend a 17 amp hour battery at 48 and above. I've seen 72 and 1500 watts, but that's pushing it. All right, so folks, until then, ride safe, be safe.